in salaries.
That's great.
Maybe it will sell you to rent a trip sometime.
Yeah, that's great.
You'll join us for a short prayer, please. Father, we thank you, Lord, for this privilege we have of being here. Lord, we thank you for the blessings you bestowed upon our county. We ask you, Lord, for wisdom today to help us, Lord, to make the best decisions possible for the residents in our county. And we ask you, Lord, for safety for everybody concerned. We give you praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Declare this meeting open. If you'll join us for a pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business this morning is approval of the minutes of the November 4th public meeting. Minutes have been circulated among the commissioners. We entertain a motion. One way or another.
Move to approve.
Motion been made to approve, and I'll second that motion. Is nobody online? Nathan not online? Okay.
No.
All in favor? Next order of business is approval of claims. That's also been circulated. Entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion been made to approve. I'll second the motion. All in favor? And we have two payrolls today. One is longevity, and the other is standard payroll. They've also been circulated. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion been made to approve. I'll second the motion. All in favor? Under old business, I'd like to ask Rich Starkey to give us his presentation here this morning, whatever he has. I know he's been to a previous meeting and he needs to leave. So, Rich, would you?
Sure. Thank you very much. Rich Starkey with Law Firm Barnes & Corber. So today we're here to help the county save some money. So we're in the process of refinancing some outstanding bonds of the county. And the Building Corporation and the Redevelopment Authority met right before this meeting to approve the refinancing. So what this is basically the same thing you would do if you refinance your house. Interest rates are lower than they were back in 2010, which in 2010 we said they would never go lower, and we were wrong. They have gone lower. They're the lowest they've ever been in the history of the Roman Empire, I think. So the Building Corporation has some bonds outstanding, the amount of $5 million, and the statute would require you as the county commissioners to approve the refinancing of that bond. And so this resolution that's before you does exactly that. We hope to close this at the end of December.
I think we've been looking at this for a while. Any questions?
I don't have anything. It's a good idea. You have a resolution that you prepared.
The proposed resolution is Commissioner's Resolution 2020 I have 09. Pretty sure that's correct. And it is a resolution to approve of the refinancing.
We're gonna save, we've got an approximate figure on there.
Yeah, I gave that.
It's over $1 million, I know.
I don't think it was that much because this is a smaller one. The
Oh, the
redevelopment
smaller, okay.
authority one was more, and I gave that back to you, the Stiefel numbers.
I didn't see that. I believe it was, on this one, I think it was the smallest of the group,
It was
so
the
it would have been
smallest.
$124,000 in
Yeah,
change.
that's right, 100.
With no change in the final maturity date.
That's the only one we're concerned about is just the one bond issue.
Right, right. So the redevelopment authority, the statute doesn't require the commissioners, it requires the council approval under the statute. And that was more, that was 400 some, right?
I believe so, yeah.
And then we're looking in the future, possibly refinance the hospital bonds, and that's even more. That might be
million.
That might be even $1 million. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a good idea. I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 2020-09.
Motion's been made, and I agree it's a good idea, and I'll second the motion. All in favor?
If it's all right with you gentlemen, I'll get signatures at the end of the meeting and I'll email a copy to Rich.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rich.
Thanks for jumping me ahead. I'll run back to Indy and actually have a Zoom meeting.
Drive safely.
See you online.
Okay. You will.
Is Chuck here? Chuck's not here. Okay. New business. We have a piece of property, it's in your district, Rick. It's over.
That is correct.
It's
Yes.
Pittman property, wanted to change a road name.
Now, this is a private road that they'd like to name. Marvin, have you been able to finalize that for them?
Well, first of all, my understanding is that historically you have simply adopted these private road namings for E911 purposes by motion in a meeting and by nothing more formal than that. And so once this has been approved, we'll get a copy of the draft minutes out to the people involved.
Okay. I just want everybody to understand that we're not renaming a county road, or this is not a county road that we're naming. We're just approving the name for a private road so that they can get an E911 address for that private road.
Now, the proposed names running of the roads running through this property, and it is a road, two roads running southward either side of a lake bank. They join at the southernmost tip, a little beyond the southernmost tip of the lake involved. The property is pardon me. One of the properties involved, probably the biggest of the grouping, and there are several parcels involved, but one of them, for identification purposes, is state parcel 28-05-14-000.004-022. All of these properties are either owned by Pittman's individually or by, I believe it's TriStar Mining, and Mr. Pittman is a principal of that LLC. The road names proposed are West Lake Shore Drive, all individual words, and East Lake Shore Drive.
And probably if you put that in MapQuest someday, you'll end up in Chicago. But that's what you'd like to name them, and I'm fine with that.
So, would you like to make that a motion?
I will make that motion.
Motion's been made to name the roads West Lake Shore Drive and East Lake Shore Drive. I'll second the motion. All in favor?
Thank you.
next is West Central Indiana Watershed Alliance. Laura?
Right. I'm actually here on behalf of the Greene County Soil and Water Conservation District. So I'm Laura Demrest. I'm a grant contractor that does the Clutter Bridge Loop Free 319 grant. But you guys don't mind. We had a lapse in our employment. I think you maybe heard Casey Kennett no longer works with us, and so we have Carrie. She's here, but she's kind of new. So in the lapse between employees, I kind of was handling some of this plat book communication. So I'm bringing it to you, and then I'll hand it off to her now that she's here, and we're glad to have her. Basically, the situation is we were contacted, or I guess in April of 2019, we signed a contract to get new plat books. And if you guys were aware, what we usually do at the Soil and Water District is we put out a plat book and we work with a company and we sponsor it, and then we'll usually have a small upcharge on it. So if they charge us, $10 per plat book, or we'll sell them for 15 or however like that. So it's not a huge money making, but it is a little bit of income for the Greene County Soil and Water District. And so the last one we had was in 2014. It's all the hand-drawn one. We probably have, how many on the wait list waiting for a new one? Almost 40. Yeah, we've got a lot of calls. So the previous employee had started work on this, and then I think the ball got dropped when there was a $750 data sharing fee. So the WTH, the GIS company that does for your county, Steve Leatherman suggests that we needed county approval if we wanted that fee waived. And since we've thought that since we fall under, if we are a county organization, that we're not a private entity trying to make money off of this, we wanted to ask you if that would be possible to get that waived, and then we can start moving that process forward. So the new type of books, we're working with mapping solutions, so it's going to be a much improved with like the aerial maps, and they'll use that WTH GIS data to incorporate here, and then they're going to solicit ads from local companies to add in. So we hope to have that in early 2021 and be able to have that available for our producers and our county. So if that's amenable to you all, the $750 to have that approval for the data sharing application, I believe is what he suggested. Get approval, and then we'll have that sent around for signature later.
I'm kind of familiar with that. WTH has done that in the past for other companies. I don't remember the fee being that high.
Well,
Actually, it has.
$750, and the county, they said the county at $250.
And they get the other. Okay, that's the reason.
And I was unfamiliar with it too because I work out of Clay and Sullivan counties, and I've kind of helped consult on their plat books just because we usually do watershed maps and other things. And I don't remember them. I don't know if they don't use WTH. I think they do, but the data sharing just doesn't seem. That was the first time I'd ever heard of a fee like this. So I don't know if it was just there was some sort of a blanket approval or something.
Well, I don't have any problem at all waiving their fee.
I don't either.
Yeah.
And this is county entity, additional benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have no issue. I don't know if we have the authority to waive their fee or not, but we do have.
Do you?
Okay. I'll make that motion. Gladly.
I'll second that motion.
Awesome. We'll get that data sharing
All in favor?
application. Thank you. I think I was communicating with Matt Brown about that, so we'll get that application, and I think you guys will just have to sign that once we have approval. And hopefully you'll be seeing a lot more of Carrie. Well, not too much, not bothering you or anything, but she'll be here. She's working hard for us, so
She needs to let us know.
she'll be a
once we're done.
familiar face. Yeah. I'm just a stand-in for the time being, so I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Just one question.
Yeah.
What's the cutoff date for the records in there? I mean, is it up to date to the end of this year? Is it back to July?
For the plat, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's the surveyor that enters that and keeps that up to date. As soon as we get this fee and they get ads in, I'm hoping it'll be by the end of the year they'll have everything up to date, and then that'll be as soon as they publish it, it's probably out of date a little bit, But I think it'll be a lot quicker than with the hand-drawn ones that they used to do with the plat book. I think those took a lot more time. So that's basically just them, using that data and just incorporating it and doing some layout stuff. So these come out a lot quicker and they're a lot nicer. So I don't think the board has decided what the sale price will be quite yet. They'll talk about that in the meeting. But just if we can get over this hump, then we can start getting this thing put out to people. So.
Well, I assume you sell the advertisements in there?
Um,
Is that yours to do, or is that the?
They do it, I think.
They do it for you?
But they want local folks, so we usually work with them to give them suggestions on whose ads to place, and just people from Greene County, so they don't just pull in whatever. So we consult on that.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
Greene County Event Center, Richard?
Good morning, thank you for having me. I'm here to present on behalf of the Event Center Board to request your consideration for installing surveillance cameras on the property using the money that came in from CARES to the county. The justification for that in our eyes is the potential for the building to be unoccupied for extended periods of time, and we have over time seen instances of equipment walking off from the property and minor misuse of the property that we would like to have eyes on if possible. We do have an estimate that was approved by the board for to bring before you today from ICOM. This is the estimate for the equipment we think would be best for the job, and we have majority approval for this quote, and bring that for you today for your thoughts.
Just out of curiosity, I see 5 outdoor cameras. Indoors are like 9, 8.
We do, at this point, we do not desire to put any inward facing cameras in the building, all outward facing. We do have the ability to add up to 16 cameras on there. We do not think that we need them at this point.
I didn't look close enough. I'm looking at the man hours there. The way they've got that written down, it almost looks like extra cameras.
Jump up 2 lines ahead of that.
Yeah.
I think you've done some bad math there too. The cabling.
Yes, they did.
And if you look at bullet 3 down there in the comment section, the notes section, it does say that this price could go up or down based upon the equipment they actually use. So it is just an estimate and a quote. But I'll present that before you for consideration for the possibility of using those funds for this purpose, and if you'd allow us to carry forward with scheduling that work.
2 things I'd like to say about this. One, I'd like to get Nathan's input on this before we move forward. And 2, I really think this is probably a very good idea, since the court system, are they going to be using the event center? And that's still a possibility. And I think if the court system's going to be over, I think having some cameras outside is, I think, just a good idea.
One reason I was thinking about the inside.
Yeah, I think the concern, and I don't want to speak for the board, I think maybe their concern there might be that, you know, they rent that facility out for private parties and stuff, and I think they may be a little uneasy about having cameras available for.
That was
These cameras,
exactly
Is that
it.
concern? I think that was a concern I had heard mentioned.
are they going to be monitored from over here?
They
Just
will,
out of curiosity.
they will be remote. There will be an in-house server that records, and we'll be able to access them remotely. So whoever we give access to keep eyes on them, and it may be that someone in the courthouse does have access to it if they desire.
Or some security somewhere.
Sure.
Somebody.
Yes. And all that's built into the pricing. So.
If they can, price is correct.
Now, it should be at least close to $180 now. On cable, instead of 18 cents.
It is correct, they just didn't extend it.
Right.
I just wondered if the others were.
Oh,
I see they say unit price.
right, and then they extended.
Yeah, I didn't know whether they've extended them or not extended.
They did.
But they did. So, yeah, so I'm not sure what the final numbers are. I think it's a good idea. I think it's something I'd like to see us be able to do. Again, I'd like to have Nathan's input on that.
So we want to make a motion to table for today.
I'd like to table it to our next meeting. I'd like for us to bring up the vote on the next meeting and get this. I'd really like to
I'd like to see it extended.
Yeah, and you may need to talk to ICOM and see if it's interconnectable with what we already have somewhere. You would know more about that than the rest of us would, to see what capabilities it's gonna have. But I do think it's something that we should do, or should seriously consider.
Okay, so is that a motion?
Yes, it is.
I'll second the motion. All in favor? And we'll deal with it in 2 weeks.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Richard.
Greene County Health Department, Sherry?
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Sharon.
Pass these documents.
Thanks, Sherry.
Thank you.
So, what you have before you is the school plan during orange and red activities showing on the map, the COVID map for the state. The school is proposing to go into, all school districts in Greene County are proposing to go into hybrid learning through the end of the semester. Through the end of the first semester, and then they will make decisions on whether they go hybrid or stay in hybrid mode or go to virtual as the colors, based on the color system. For now, we're in orange, so they're proposing to hold their extracurricular activities and based on what the new requirements are first by the new executive board. So that's a 25% capacity for indoor activities. And then red, they're going to still hold indoor athletic activities. However, it'll be further limited to just athlete, staff, and parents. That's different from what the original school plans were in red. Initially, all extracurricular activities were supposed to be canceled. With that in mind, I'd like you guys to flip to page 2 on the chart that shows Greene County's actual COVID positivity. Yes. If you go to page 2, you'll see what we've done in the last couple weeks. And I bring this up because the state of Indiana counts they come up with their color code based on positivity compared to the number of people who actually took the test on a specific day, and then they roll that into a 7-day average total. So that map is always going to be 7 to 9 days behind, and it's going to always reflect lower than what I'm physically seeing in the health department. I'm not comparing it to the number of people who took a test and came negative compared to the number of people who took the test and were positive. I'm just totally looking at positivity in a 7-day period. And in doing it that way, we're seeing a huge surge in cases here in Greene County. If we look since the winter or the fall, and as weather gets colder and people are relegated to activities indoors, we're steadily seeing an increased spread in COVID positivity. If you can look starting from at the month of October, you can see we went from 26 to 46 to 66 to 60 to 81, and then last week we had 121 cases. Yesterday, in yesterday's total alone, we've got 44 cases. So with that being said, through the winter months, I don't see us turning this around unless we can really convince our residents to mask up, to cut their activities, even amongst themselves. Because the spread is all related to private gatherings. We've not seen one huge event or an activity that has caused the spread. It's individual actions that are making this happen. With that being said, I'm here to ask the commissioners to participate in a weekly check-in with the hospital and the mayors in town, so that we can make decisions as things change in terms of numbers. I'm thinking that this check-in will not last more than 30 minutes, but it gives everybody the opportunity to have a voice in what's happening here in the county. The proposed date for that is every Wednesday at 2 o'clock. It'll be set up via WebEx, so you'll have the ability to call in or video in. And then the schools are asking me to put language that, in effect, that requires them to adopt this policy. In the past, the health department has always said that we used recommended language based on the governor's executive orders, and that we would require, as the governor is requiring, but we would not be more restrictive. So the commissioners, they are looking for more stronger language. So I wanted to, and I don't know if this will be an offline conversation later, but really talk about, where we should be as a county with mandates besides the mandates that the governor has put down. And the last thing, we've had several incidents this week, actually over the weekend, that were related to daycare and one manufacturing company that has thrown my schedule completely off. But I do want you guys to think about this next statement, which will be followed by a document. Because we're looking at higher rates of positivity, it has also increased the utilization of our COVID test site that we put up. We initially set it up for 35 hours, and people are really using it more than I thought they would. And the Optum site that was here, they were open they did 48 hours a week in testing, and we're doing 35. And as you can see, this week we've exceeded numbers in just that 35 hours. And the health department staff is such that we are a small crew, and I can't afford the nurse to go in and help out when they have a long line, because if she goes in, then we can't do our immunization and other case reporting. It's not just COVID that we do case reporting on, but there's animal bites and hepatitis A and other communicable diseases. I can't afford to send a registrar in, because then who will do deaths and birth certificates? I can't afford to send the other environmental specialists in, because we need the continual monitoring of food service and septic. So our clerk, he's older and he's at risk, so that leaves me. And so I'm physically filling in the gaps when
the test center is being overutilized. They go in and help the workers there. Because if I have to be quarantined, I can still get some things done remotely. And that's a hard position to be in right now, the health department. So I will put together hard numbers and be back for an expert edition also.
You don't have those numbers yet?
No, I don't. The goal was to have them today, but incidents took me away from it.
I know the site's busy, and I think that's good that it is busy. When we read this chart, and you're kind enough, you send these out to us, and we see these all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way that we can have this, these are all test people, is there any way we can isolate that down to Greene County and non-Greene County residents to have those numbers, or is that just too difficult to do?
There is a way to do that. It's a manual. I'll have to merge the data and then like do some pivot tables to take out non-Greene County residents, but it can be done.
I don't want to create extra work just to be creating extra work. It would be very helpful for me if I knew how many of those people were Greene County people. I mean, I'm assuming that the majority of them are, but
When I put the report together, I'll include that information.
Okay. That would be helpful for me.
How many test sites do we have around the county and neighboring counties?
We have the neighboring county with test sites is Bloomington, and which would be Marion County, and Monroe County. Marion is Indianapolis, and then Eagle County, Terre Haute. Clay County, Sullivan County, Davies County, they did not opt to put in a COVID testing site.
So we could be pulling in tests from any of those
And
counties or all
we do.
those counties?
We do. We see people from Sullivan. We see people from Clay. We even get overlap from Vigo as well. If something's going wrong with the test site, we chose to have 2 evening hours and Saturdays to accommodate people who work, so that they can still get in to get a test. And Saturday we're seeing increasing utilization as well. And they're coming from all counties on that Saturday because other counties are closed in the week.
Well, the testing is extremely important.
Testing is very important because
when do you think we'll have those numbers? When can you give us some hard numbers for over?
I'm going to work on getting this done by the end of the week. As cases continue to rise, we're seeing that the state testing, state contact tracing is coming back no information. So they will make 2 attempts, and after 2 attempts, it's up to the health department to continue trying to contact that person. That is taking a tremendous amount of time. By the time we do get a person, it takes anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes for a full contact tracing interview. And we've abbreviated the interview so that we can get through it faster. So then after contact tracing, you then need to send out notifications and then contact all of the close contacts and quarantine them as well. And it's overwhelming right now.
And I know it's important. It's frustrating that the state I would think it's almost cherry pick and take the easy ones, and then if it's hard to get hold of, well, they ask you to do that. I don't know how you're supposed to do that. If they don't have time to do it, how would you have time to do it?
It is what has helped us is that we have staff that know the community, and through social media, through connections, they kind of know. We can look and see like, okay, we know that this person's activity is this, and we can kind of garner where we need to start our contacts. But it all takes time.
Yeah.
we'll be looking forward to those numbers. And, I've been guilty of not checking in on Wednesdays. That's a busy day for me, but I'll try to remember to do that.
Okay. I will send out, when I get back to the office today, I'll send that notice, to everyone, and, you'll have the and the phone number to call.
And you'll continue to keep sending the cease?
Yes, yes. And then, what is your opinion on putting out, requirements, from a governing body to Greene County?
Is this what we might want to talk, Marvin, about the courthouse and public facilities, or you?
This is, I think, a broader discussion, what she's asking for.
Okay.
If I'm understanding correctly, I think Sherry's asking the commissioners to consider more stringent guidelines and requirements than what the governor has promulgated generally through Executive Order 20-48. That order does, of course, allow the counties to establish more stringent standards and guidelines, but it does leave that to a county-by-county basis to decide what, if any, additional action should take place. So it is a broader discussion.
There's so much lead time involved in that before we have that would have to be done in a public meeting. Is that something that the president of the commissioners can do by executive order, or how does that?
The president certainly could impose restrictions or limitations by executive order, but of course that's only going to be good for 7 days from the date of issue before the body as a whole needs to meet and decide whether to fully adopt with modifications, extend as is, do nothing and cancel it. Those are some of the options available. But yes, the president could make a determination that more stringent standards are needed, and to establish those standards by executive order, by emergency proclamation.
In many cases, 7 days would most likely get us to a meeting, a regular meeting, 50% of the time anyway.
Yeah.
We were all three
Oh, yeah.
doing the discussion,
Well,
so I'd like to think about that.
Yeah, I think that we obviously, I think, want to follow the governor's guidelines, whatever he has. I'm not, at this point, willing to put stricter restrictions on people here in the county. I don't see a need for that at this point. I think that if we have the ability, the president has the ability to do that if the change is warranted, but at this time, I don't see any reason for us to do that. That's my opinion.
I'd like to get all three of us to do the next.
Do you have some ideas of some further restrictions that you were wanting us to consider, or were you just asking if we would consider?
I'm asking if you would consider, and I do, when it comes to restaurant activity and certain merchants, we're seeing that people just aren't following the current guidelines, especially in restaurants, especially in pubs. They're just not following their back to back. They're not doing the social distancing. People coming in are not masked. I understand you can't eat and drink and wear a mask, but you should be masked up going into establishments, and that is the requirement right now, that you wear a mask in public.
Do you have some idea how you plan to enforce that?
For restaurants, I would like to put out a disclaimer letting them know that these, again, which they already know, these are the requirements, that if you are observed by a representative of the health department not following the requirements, and patrons in your establishment, you're closed. And then you close those businesses. And it is a hard stand And I think that's the only way they're gonna take it serious. And with the opportunity, just as have I closed businesses in the past, I give them the opportunity to make amends and open them up as soon as possible.
Well, if you have some suggestions, I'd suggest that she provide us with those suggestions and we review them.
In writing, so we can sit down and look at it, email it out, so we've got time to
Sure.
look at it and study it.
And that's why I think the check-in too is important every week, so we know what's happening in each of the townships, as well as with the hospital, and can make decisions in real time. Once anything goes out, I do like this was part of the guidance from the governor that once you go into a phase, that you remain in that phase. Even if the colors change, you still stay there for 2 weeks of improving activity. Is that right, Marvin?
You have to see 2 consecutive weeks of improved numbers that would raise you to the next highest level before you're actually raised to the next highest level. So Greene County is currently orange. We would have to have 2 consecutive weeks of yellow or better numbers before the state would move us upward in that category. By contrast, if we move from orange to red, that change is immediate upon notice. So there is no delay if the condition declines. The minute it's announced, we shift to red protocols. But to get back up the ladder requires 2 consecutive weeks of significant improvement in the numbers and in mitigation of the spread.
Just for your review, I did include a synopsis of the governor's latest executive orders and such as that.
And we get that, and Marvin's been very good about keeping us up to date
Yes.
on that.
So that's where I am, guys.
Okay.
We appreciate your work, and I guess the thing to say is to keep up the good work. I know you're busy, and we'll try to help you where we can.
Thank you. And you guys have been amazing, especially the help with the COVID testing.
I know it's stressful, so hang in there.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, while I've got Sherry here, can I make one request? We need a lot better signage over there,
Absolutely.
because my people are at risk with people just bebopping into the shop and saying, I'm here to get my COVID test. And we've got the actual office door locked now, because people are just flying in, so we need much better signage, especially if it's out-of-county people coming.
Yeah.
And our phone
Do you have some more
probably rings
signage
off
ordered?
Yes, I have it ordered. We just don't
We need
have
to get
it
something
yet.
out there at the highway. We need some signage out at the highway. If you'll contact me or contact Roger, we'll help get it put up. You just,
Okay.
as soon as you get it, we'll put it up.
Yeah, I'll gladly provide posts or whatever we need to do.
Right.
It's, like I said, put my people at risk every year.
That was the whole idea of fencing that area off. We
On a
wanted to keep
regular
them from
basis.
meandering around.
Plus our office phones ringing off the wall for scheduling. I don't know how our number got involved.
Really?
Well, I will, we should have signage before Friday, and I will take you guys up on your help to get that put up.
Comes in Thursday, I can help you. It's Friday, I really. Well, I can't.
You get it to me, we'll get it up.
We'll get
Okay.
it.
It'll be up before you get back.
Sure.
You want all traffic to go around County Road 800, is that right? Right? Yeah,
Well,
800.
the original signage was off the highway, but you're still gonna have traffic coming in on 800. Ideally, if, you got the big COVID sign up on the north side. A big COVID sign up on the south side for people coming in off 800 would work immensely. Then we actually have a light pole right there in the middle of the lot that a sign could go on that says COVID with an arrow pointing towards that building. So if they're coming off, that'd be the first thing they would see was that sign. And then obviously it's on the building.
So we need one out there at the highway, we need one at the corner, we need at least 3 large signs with
I've got
arrows
2.
on them.
And-
So there's 6x8 signs, so I'll add another 6x8 sign, and then what size do you suggest the sign for the light pole?
The one on the pole would need to be huge. I mean,
Get them 6 by 8, people are hard to see.
Get another
Well,
6x8.
whatever
6
size
by 8,
they're good,
yeah.
we'll make it work. If it's
Yeah.
too big, that's okay.
Right, you get a big sign.
Right.
Yeah, they won't see it.
Yeah, well, I didn't realize it was that many out of county. And there are a lot of people in the county that don't know what Highland Garage is, but you got people coming from out of county.
Yeah, we do. It's about, I would say the utilization from out of county right now is between 15 to 20%.
Okay. Signage would be terrific. I finally put a big sign on the front. This is not the COVID testing facility. And like I said,
Yeah.
we've locked the buildings.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Greene County Clerk, Stuart.
Good morning.
Where's Stuart?
How are you?
Stuart.
Do they have any paperwork on this?
Don't need any.
Okay.
This is
Just
just an
curious.
update to the employer.
Yes, just wanted to let you know, Adela Miller has approached me and said she wanted to go part-time. And so I've been thinking about doing some stuff anyway. And so what I'm doing, in the process of doing, is I'm gonna transition her from full-time into part-time, working 3 days a week, doing what she does. Excuse me. And then just make that full-time and continue the same rate of pay that she's making, but only in part-time. And then with that being done, I want to take her regular full-time position and just eliminate it.
Okay, did I misunderstand what you just said? You're gonna take a full-time position, you're gonna pay her full-time just to be there part-time?
No, the rate of pay, not how much she gets overall, but the hourly pay.
Okay. I assume that's a council decision, isn't it?
It's a council decision, but since you effectively are the county employer, I recommended that Stuart let you know that he was making some changes in the structure of his office that would result in a full-time deputy clerk position being converted to a permanent part-time deputy clerk position. He's looking at downsizing the office.
Yeah, I mean, good work. You
more-
can do that and still provide the services you need to
Well,
provide.
it became, I was thinking about something anyway, but then it became very apparent when all this COVID stuff happened, we had to have people, we had shifts, and some people were out, some people were in, we just kind of rotated people. Work seemed to be getting done, and plus the fact that we're doing a lot more electronic recordings, not recordings, but filings, e-filings. And so that can happen a lot quicker than paper having to go downstairs and different things. We still have to do that kind of stuff, but we're getting more and more e-filings, which just speeds up things up. And so there are times I see people just sitting around. So we're just trying to make it a little bit more efficient in the office.
I think that's great.
Well, is the classification going to change? I mean, is that something that will affect,
You already have a job description for that part-time position, do you not?
Yeah, I've got one if you want.
The position, the part-time position description for this particular position, and this is a second deputy clerk part-time, is a modified version of the full-time position. The employee category, the work code stays the same. It's just that it reduces the position to a 21-hour per week position, because that is more consistent with what the position appears to require.
With the council, good by the council, that's great.
good job?
I suspect they will love it.
Big bill.
Okay, hope so.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, Stuart.
Commissioner board appointments. To my knowledge, we have no commissioner board appointments this morning. And that will bring us to county attorney. Robert?
I've got a few things, unfortunately, but I think we can move through them quickly, and to the extent they are approved, we can get signatures at the conclusion of the meeting. The first thing that we need to do is related to the refunding resolution adopted earlier in the meeting. The bond underwriter and marketer, Stiefel, also requires an engagement agreement with the commissioners. It is actually a somewhat shorter agreement than the Building Corporation and Redevelopment Authority were asked to be involved in, but since you had to authorize the refunding of the bond, Stiefel would like you on contract with them as well. I've reviewed it. Everything is consistent with what they're doing with everybody else. It's not an additional fee. It's simply making sure that all the relevant parties are signed onto the agreement. And so that's the first item.
All their fees are paid out of the bond.
That is correct. We don't even know what their fees will be until we get to the bonding, because it's dealt with as a bond discount amount. That's how their fees are paid. And I don't remember precisely, but I think that this was on the order, I want to say approximately 0.3%, give or take, of the total bond funding, and very consistent with what we've seen in the past with other companies.
You have a similar resolution or a similar motion you're going to need from the council too?
The council has a slightly different role in the process. Their role is to approve the lease amendment that will be associated with the bond refinancing. And so yes, there will be a resolution, but it won't be specifically to refinance the bond. It will be to approve the subsequent amendment of the lease to accommodate the new bonding.
Do we need to, this letter of engagement, does it need to be contingent on the council doing their action? I mean,
if the bond does not close, then there is no money to be paid. And so there's, in my mind, no reason to have a contingency statement or do anything else.
Okay.
If the council didn't adopt the resolution, then that effectively kills the bond refinance.
Okay. I just
And
didn't
that'll
want to
happen,
step on them.
and that'll happen before fees are incurred. As a contracting body, you're the one that needs to do the contracting.
Right, I just want to be sure we had the funds to pay whatever we were going to contract for.
Built into the bond.
I'll make a motion that we enter into a letter of engagement with Stiefel.
I'll second the motion. All in favor?
All right. The second issue goes back to something we'd worked with previously, the collection company, Procol Incorporated. Because existing judgments are handled a little bit differently on collections, not in terms of fees, but in terms of Procol's internal processing, they want to separate the general collections that they're working on for the county from the existing judgments where they're stepping into a court case that's already been determined, and effectively handle those differently and treat it as if it is a different contracting entity for the county. This is something that I sent you probably a month or so ago, and then I think what happened is that I lost track of it, quite frankly. And so there are quite a number of existing judgments that Mr. Burke and Procol are looking into, trying to determine their actual status, make sure that they're not Medicaid files that aren't collectible at all because of the nature of the Medicaid file, and just generally to make sure that they're pursuing collections appropriately. So he has asked that a contract related purely to those existing judgments be entered into. I've reviewed it several times, in fact, and there's no disadvantage to the county in it. It really functionally just makes things operate better on his end.
Do you have any feel for how many of those there are? Are we talking about tens, or are we talking about hundreds, or are we talking about?
I think it was under 100. I think Tom provided me the number, but I don't remember exactly. In the last 10 days or so, he had sent over, and I know Ed had followed up with the ambulance service on several of them, existing judgments for assignment. I think that grouping may have had upward of 20 in it, if I remember correctly, but there are others to come where they'll be getting involved. Cases have already gone to judgment. County owns the right to collect, and that they just want to make sure everything is in good order and try to collect those where they have lain dormant now for some time.
So there won't be any new ones of these going forward. These are all just ones that have been decided in the past.
These are all decided in the past, yeah.
I don't know.
We finally have a system worked out that I think will be workable.
Okay.
We get first review through the ambulance department, and we found several on the first review that were, I mean, absolutely, no doubt they were all Medicaid, which we pulled out. I didn't sign, we pulled out. Some we couldn't find any insurance or information about, so he's double checking those to make sure they're not Medicaid. We don't want to harass anybody that's all on Medicaid. And we finally, I think, have a system worked out that I think is going to be working.
So the ambulance board's on board with this.
I think they will be. We haven't had a meeting, but I'm sure they will be. They are on board with him. Yeah, we just haven't had the opportunity to talk about this second contract with people that are already, for the people that are already got judgments.
So you recommend we go ahead and do this?
I recommend we go ahead and do it.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion. All in favor?
All right, we have a couple of maintenance agreements that need to be addressed. I believe I, at one time or another, sent both of these to you. One of them is from Adam Chemical, and it involves maintenance on the hot loop system at the jail. I've worked things out with Adam Chemical so that we have a standard maintenance agreement with in our format, and the cost overall of that ends up, I believe that one was $105 a month, and it can be terminated for any reason upon 30 days notice. That's a proposal Adam made. Their basic proposal was fine. I believe Commissioner Graves has reviewed it and felt that it was appropriate as a necessary service for the jails. So that needs to be considered. The other is a maintenance agreement related to commercial boiler and chiller installations. This is for the maintenance department, and they'd like to make use of the services of SR Mechanical out of Bedford. And again, we've got a contract worked out with them. The total annual is $2,970. They make sure the boiler's ready to fire, and then when it's time to go back to air conditioners, make sure the boiler is shut down properly for the summer term, and make sure that the chillers are in operation. There is a provision, of course, for additional labor or parts not contemplated by the service agreement, but everything appears to be in good order.
I'm familiar, the prices seem fair to me. Adam Chemical has some experience. I do not have any experience with the company from Bedford that Tim has used those, and he seems to like them, and I think we can get out of that if we're not happy shared services.
I believe that was the case, yeah.
Yes, so I don't see any reason. I would assume the sheriff is happy with added chemicals so far. The warranty period is up, and we need to continue that, so. Yeah, I think the motion that we enter into both of those maintenance agreements.
Due to the complexity of it anymore, I think it's necessary too, so I'll second the motion.
It's nice stuff, we need to take care of it.
Yeah. All in favor?
All right. Gentlemen, thank you. That's all I have, unless you need further of me in the next topic.
Thanks, Mark.
I think we may have already largely exhausted that topic.
Could be.
You know, on the back on track plan, I had made a few notes, but I think Sherry covered about everything that we needed to discuss. But I want to go ahead and emphasize that there is no more stage 5 as of 12:01 a.m. on Sunday morning. And we're now using the color code system, which is blue, yellow, orange, and red. Greene County is in the orange. So we're just one step from the top. I think it is important that we emphasize social distancing and using a mask. I'm not big on mandates, but I think we should emphasize that and continually emphasize it. And I have noticed everywhere I go, every store I go into, there's a sign on the door. And I wear my mask when I go in and when I come out. I have noticed very few people come in without one. I've noticed more people inside without it. But very few people come in without one. I haven't noticed it. Just a handful. But I think it's important that we emphasize that and try to wear this thing down. And that is a recommendation of the governor and Dr. Box from his briefing. So that's about all I got to say, unless you've got anything else to add. Public comments. Anybody have a public comment?
The Greene County Veterans Council conducted their Veterans Day ceremony on November the 11th. It was well attended. It had been on a cold day in the middle of a pandemic. Everybody socially distanced and wore masks. It was a nice ceremony, and we appreciate county support, great leadership, and citizens.
We appreciate our veterans and you for taking care of them. Commissioner comments, announcements, Rick?
I do not have any.
I do have one. Sometime back, this is just a discussion here right now, but sometime back we discussed fire repeater over at Vicksburg on the water tank. The water tank was going to be discontinued, and we didn't want to get into the water tank business, so we're going to have to find a place to put that repeater. I've investigated that quite a bit. I've got a little bit of history here on it. It's an analog repeater, and it was purchased somewhere around 2011 for the ambulance department for a dispatch computer or a dispatch radio. The FCC mandated all VHF and UHF systems to be narrow banded by 1/1 of 13. So this repeater was reprogrammed for narrow band by that time. Emergency management, Roger Axe, had sought and received a grant to replace the analog repeater with a new dual mode system sometime after 1/1/13. I'm not sure of the date. The original repeater was put into service as an EMA repeater as part of that grant. Roger again sought and received a grant for a digital repeater to replace his EMA analog repeater. And as part of that grant, he requested that the analog repeater be installed at Vicksburg on the water tower for the fire department use to ease the communication problems at Wright Township and Jasonville, and caused by the narrowbanding. And that's where I kind of lost track. I thought this repeater was put in there for dispatch, to reach dispatch, and it wasn't. It was put in there pre-programmed for a fire ground repeater, and it only benefits the fire departments at Wright and Jasonville and on their fire ground and mutual aid. The water tower is now owned by Greg Napier, and he has that as a business venture, as a communications tower. The water tank will be disconnected. He's got some maintenance to do on it, and it's just to be used as a communications tower. He has some expense, of course. He's got quite a bit of expense in repair to be done first, several $1,000s. I'm not exactly sure on the amount. He has his insurance. He'll be paying taxes on it, so he's going to have rent for all the equipment that's on that tower. Both fire departments say they need this repeater, and they told Greg that they need this repeater. Neither of them want on their property or on their water towers or on their property. So I'm going to make a recommendation that since it only benefits those two departments, and I'm afraid if the county gets into a big thing about paying for all of this, we're going to have several fire departments going to want the same benefits, and I can't see the county council going for all of this. My recommendation is that we give that repeater to those two fire departments, or one of those fire departments, however they want to work that out, and let them pay the rent jointly, which will be about $750 a year apiece to house that in that tower. But that would include all of their electricity, and they just have to supply the maintenance on their equipment. And we don't have to act on this today, but we can if we want to.
Let me say a thing or two about that, maybe. The county has no use for the repeater that's up there.
No.
It doesn't help the sheriff's department, it doesn't help the county highway department, it doesn't help anybody here in the county. So the county doesn't need the repeater anymore. So I think if they're going to start charging us rent to leave the equipment there, I think that we should remove it from the tower. So I don't know what we need to do, Marvin, in order to have it done, but I think that's what we should do. As far as I'm concerned, we can give it to whoever needs it. If the fire departments up there want the equipment, I think that's a great place to use it. I don't think we should just junk it. If they have a need for it, and if they want to keep it on the tower, I'm fine with that. But I think we'll have the expense of removing it from the tower, and I think we ought to go ahead and do that if they don't want it. So I think we probably ought to offer it to them first. If they want to keep it there, they want to pay the rent, that's fine. If they don't, I think we ought to go to the expense of getting it removed.
Due to the ground elevation being the highest in the area, and then the tower is another 150 feet higher, that is the best location for that repeater. And I'm like you, I think that if they're going to use it, that's the location to leave it at. But we'll need to get in touch with them and see what they want to do. And I suppose that's the next step, is get in touch with the fire departments and see how they want to handle it.
I think so. Yeah. I don't know. I would assume Lewis Township has used it too. Does Linton's fire department, they don't have any use for it?
Linton has their own system, and their tower up there behind the fire department. As far as I know, they don't use that.
Okay.
I'm not sure unless Lewis would use it on a mutual aid. Lewis probably wouldn't use it. If they're mutual aid in Jasonville or Wright Township, they would use it.
Well, I'd like to do anything we can do to help Wright Township and Jasonville out.
Well,
if the county doesn't have any need for it, I don't think we should keep it up there.
I would too, and being a fire department member myself, I want to help all the fire departments. I'm just not sure we can financially support it.
I don't think we want to start that.
So, I guess the next step, I'll contact both fire departments and see how they want to handle it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how we can get rid of that, Marvin. Do you know if that's property of the county, or if EMA actually, or if Roger got that through a grant, how we'd have to go about getting rid of that?
I think the county originally purchased that. I don't know if Mike can remember that back or not, when that was put in up there north of town.
I remember when it was put in, but I wasn't in on who took care of things or anything like. I know that we paid a lot of money for repairs.
Right.
Because
comes out of the dispatch, comes out of our office to them. They just weren't receiving, depending on what location they were in their area. So the repeater was something that radio service worked with to get up so that they could hear what we were saying and we could hear what they were saying back.
But you don't use it at all now?
We've got so many repeaters for analog, digital, and all the different systems. I can't tell you whether that actual repeater is being used or not. We still dispatch the car department. So we are talking to them and they're talking back to us. I can't tell you if it goes through that repeater or a different.
This repeater is on a completely different frequency, so it's not coming through dispatch.
Okay. As long as we're not using it, we can get, I don't want to give away something we don't own to give away.
I thought it should have come through dispatch because of the distance from dispatch over there. Portable radio used to reach from Jasonville back to dispatch. And with the new narrow banded systems since 2013, they won't do that. And that was my understanding. It was going to be used for that purpose. And I just never followed up with it to find out when it wasn't.
So you're going to contact the fire department, you want Marvin to contact them, or what do you want?
Well, I don't want to put it off on Marvin, but it might be better if Marvin did. If you don't have time, Marvin, let me know. I may have to send them to you for.
If you'll just make sure after the meeting or through an email that I have points of contact and their contact information, I'll get it taken care of.
Okay. That's all I have.
You don't need any motions or anything for that, Marvin, you're fine with that?
At this point, it's primarily a research and willingness inquiry, so
Okay.
I think we're fine without a motion today.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, with that said, then our next meeting will be December 1, 9:30 right here. And I'll take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Well, it's over.